Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube, and today is Thursday, March 17th. Today is actually St. Patrick's Day. BFD. You know, that is one holiday I never celebrate. Okay. A lot of stitching stores, though, are having some sales. I know Primrose Cottage Stitches is because I got an email. But I am wearing green, which I didn't do that on purpose. And then I realized, and I was like, okay, because apparently if you don't wear green, people are supposed to pinch you. Yeah, don't fucking pinch me. No. So, how do I even begin to tell you how yesterday turned out? So, I got done the video. Bill came home. It was like, he gets home about 3:30. My plan was to start stitching the sunflower for Ukraine, right? So I start stitching it. Now, before I started stitching it, I went ahead and decided to start doing the page. Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do the page until you've actually stitched the piece. So ignore this for right now. This is the fabric, right? And then I showed this in yesterday's video. So I use glitter glue around there, and that worked out pretty well. It's very glittery, right? So I start stitching the sunflower and I hate it. The pattern, I'm like, it's too big. It was too big for me right now. I was overwhelmed and I'm like, it's going to take me forever to finish this. And I didn't like how the yellow was looking on the fabric. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to stop stitching it because I'm of the mindset, just like if I'm reading a book and I don't like it, there's too many patterns to stitch. There's too many books to read to stick with something you don't like. But then I'm like, God damn it. I've already journaled that I'm going to do this pattern. Great. What am I going to do now? So I was like, well, I could still salvage this. I could still use the fabric, cover this, and just journal a different thing. So I managed to purchase 3 or 4 more different sunflower patterns. No. I don't know what it was. By the time I said, okay, I know someone had said that Michelle Bendy Stitchy has even journaled her mistakes. So I said, well, you know what? This journal page is going to be a learning lesson, because what I decided to do was this is the fabric I was going to use. So I cut a piece of it out, put glitter glue around it, more practice for using the glitter glue. That one turned out really good, I think. And then I journaled here and I said, lesson learned, do not make layout until you have stitched the piece. Changed mind and had already done part of the layout. And if you see here, when I had already written finished, I put changed mind. So I actually, when I purchased some of the sunflower patterns the other day, when I purchased these sunflower pattern, I also purchased a bunch of stickers supporting Ukraine. So when I get those in the mail, I'm going to put a big one here. So that's going to be the page, because remember, I had already done that too. I had already put some of the facts about the war. So I was like, well, I'm stuck with doing it. So that's the learning lesson page. So then I'm like, all right, what am I going to stitch next? Because and I feel like I've put too much pressure on myself to go in order of these pages, because when I flick to the next page, it's this. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not in love with putting stitching on these kinds of pages. I like the pages that have more of a design, if that makes sense. And then I said, you know what? By the time I did all of this, I was so irritated and upset with myself. I had such a headache, and then it was dinner time, and I said, okay, I'm just putting it aside. And so Bill was like, what's wrong with you? Because he could tell like I was just not having it. And so I talked to him about it, and I said, when you go to bed, I'm going to sit in my chair with my patterns and just relax and pick a pattern and pick a page and stitch it. And then I realized too, because Michelle has done this, you can skip pages in the journal. You don't have to go in order. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. Yeah. So first off, let me show you the pattern I picked and I started. I got this from Nashville Market. This is Heart and Hand, which I love their patterns, and they have a lot of small ones, so they are a good choice for it. It's called Imprints, Berries and Blooms. So it's this. And it only calls for 3 colors, and it calls for Classic Colorworks. So a red and then 2 different greens, because if you look, this green is different than this green. And so I said, okay. When I picked this out last night, I knew I wanted to use DMC color variations because I have the entire set. I have all like 65 colors of them. So, and I absolutely love those threads. So what I decided for the berry one, I am using 4205, which is this bright, beautiful, and it's showing up lighter. It's actually darker than that. It's showing up lighter on camera. But I'm using that, and then the green is 4045. So nice greens. And then for the bloom one, I am using bright colors. This green is 4047. And then I'm using like different shades of pink and orange, 4200. So those two together. Now I'm stitching them both on the same piece of fabric because I'm going to do the page layout. They're going to be on the same page layout. And I thought that I would also like cut this out, journal that, like that's going to be on the page. So the fabric I decided to use is again the DMC printed Aida. I really am in love with that Aida as of late. 14 count, and this one is, I want to say it's sand. So here is what I got done. And I'm actually using a sunflower needle minder. I didn't even realize I had that until I was looking for a needle minder yesterday to use on this project. So I got done the border and then part of the inside. So I'm going to stitch, and I'm going to stitch the other one like right next to it because they're each only like 2 by 2. So yeah, I really love this fabric. So that's my progress. And again, you know, because it's color variations, I have to complete each X as I go along. Otherwise you lose the variation. So I am still not doing the loop method either. I am doing 2 strands, pulling them out side by side, still using my thread dampener, which has, I feel like it's, if I try to get closer, I feel like it's really made the stitches look nice and neat. And what I've also been doing, and I saw this tip on the cross stitch board, is I have been railroading the top leg of it. So, you know, railroad, you put your needle in between the 2 threads. So that's what I've been doing, and I think it has made a difference. Yeah, I'm really loving this Aida. I even went so far, I went on 1, 2, 3 stitch and I bought more of it because I get to do what I want, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's the joy of this craft. And I just feel like I was putting so much pressure on myself to go in order, and you know, every page has to have a meaning. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm going to stitch a pattern because I like it, even if I only put the stitched piece on there. So that's basically the plan for the next page. So I skipped a couple pages. After I'm done this, I am going to do my junk, you know, the first piece I ever stitched. I am going to do that page. But then when I was looking through here, so I skipped a bunch of pages. I'm going to put them on this page. I really like the, it's got like a piece of fabric with a safety pin. See, I love this type of page. So they're both going to go on here. Probably like here and here. And I actually went on scrapbook.com because even though I have a lot of scrapbook stuff, a lot of it's Christmas or Halloween. So I wanted something that had like berries or blooms or something. So I actually found they had scrapbook layout, you know, paper pack that was like fruits and something. So I got a piece that has red checkered for this one, and then I got a piece that has like orange checkered for this one because there is some orange in the thread that I'm going to use for there. So I will back those with that. And then they actually had these stickers that when you shake them, they have glitter inside. And I was like, oh yes. And so they're hearts. One says life is good and one says smile. So I got those and I figure I'll put those there or put them somewhere and still be able to journal, you know, this and this. And then be able to write somewhere on the page the fabric I used and the date. It's very, very simple. And then I was sitting here when I was stitching last night because let me tell you, when I'm having a not so great day, and let's face it, in the grand scheme of things, this is, you know, first world problems. But to say I really was upset with myself and had a headache, I really did. And I hadn't felt like that about my stitching in a long time. I realized when I was sitting here stitching, because like I said, I've skipped like, I don't know, 4 or 5 pages in the journal to get to that page. Not every page in this journal has to have stitching on it. Meaning, I could journal when I get birthday cards. Like the birthday card I get from Bill, I usually really love it. So I could, you know, like take this page for example. I could seriously just put a card on the whole page and then journal on the back of this card, and then that's done. This, for me, this is about journaling my life too. So yeah, I feel like there's going to be things in here that are not necessarily stitching. Because like I said, I skipped a bunch of pages. Like here's another page that I'll probably put a card or something. It's not, for me, it's not like pretty enough to put stitching on. But then I really love this page. I want to do like a St. Patrick's Day design on it because it looks like clovers almost a little bit. And then the next page, I really love the pockets and the playing card. Maybe I do, oh, you know what would be good on this one? That Sudoku pattern. Find a Sudoku pattern because of numbers. That could be cool. And then there's the page. So yeah, I mean, there are going to be pages in here. There are a lot of beautiful pages coming up. Oh my God. I never really flipped through this book. Look at the fox. So you know I'm going to have to do a fox design on this page because of that. Some of these pages, and I have to give myself a break, right? I have to give myself permission to just let it happen because some of these pages I flip to it and the design is going to come right to me. And other pages, it just isn't. And I just need to, I mean, because this is supposed to be ultimately enjoyable. The whole thing, the whole process. So like I said, I am really loving this Aida. I hope actually they come out with more colors. I don't know if they're going to. Right now they only have 3 colors. The Sand, the Morning Dew, which is like the bluey green one, and then Sunset, which is like a purple pink. And I have them all. And they're sold out at a lot of places because it took me a while to find some. So yeah, I absolutely just love it. And like I said, I love these small designs. I actually looked on 123 Stitches page for Heart and Hand designs. And I know the Trilogy is like another one that has small designs. I really, really love these kinds of patterns where it's not a ton of colors. I mean, it's amazing the journey my stitching has taken over the last, 10 years. I used to just stitch big things and now I just have no desire to do that. But I have so many wonderful patterns that I sat down and actually looked through them last night. And I'm like, what's good about doing the junk journal too is that even if I own, because I do own some bigger patterns, I could take an element from it to stitch on the page. I don't have to stitch the whole thing. You just had, there's so much flexibility and stuff in there. But very much so far enjoying working on these. And that's what it boils down to too. You have to love what you're stitching. So unfortunately, the extent of me supporting the Ukraine has been buying about $70 worth of patterns because I bought a bunch from Stitchy Princess, and then buying some stickers and journaling about it, but not stitching a sunflower because no, just not for me. Okay, so that was all the stitching I got done yesterday. I'm telling you, if you would have seen me yesterday, I haven't had a headache induced by something like that in a long, long time. Okay, no purchases. Nothing came in the mail. Although today, and you guys will see this in tomorrow's video, today my coffee bird is coming from Top Knot Stitcher, Abby. That was the last pattern I had purchased from Nashville. So that's coming today. And so I have 2 talking points. We're going to do a true crime story today. Yes, indeedy. So today's plan, when Bill gets home from work, because it's about 12:45 p.m. here. When Bill gets home from work, not right when he gets home, but about 5 o'clock, his truck's ready. So we're going to go pick that up. And then we're going to grab dinner at Mission Barbecue because we're already going to be out. So he actually took off work tomorrow because he wants to work on the boat because it's supposed to rain on Saturday. So he'll be out of my hair though. I mean, he's not going to be, but we won't have to go to bed early tonight. We won't have to get up early tomorrow. And yeah, just, I do have a job to index today and try to remind everybody about the arbitration in the next 2 weeks. Yeah. So got a little bit of stuff to do. But okay, so talking points. And remember, tomorrow, Bill is still playing poker. So when he leaves, I mean, right when he leaves, I'm going to be ready to do the extra video because he usually leaves about 4:30, 4:45. Remember, I'm doing the extra bonus video. It's 129 ways to get a husband, an article from a McCall's issue in 1958. So if you're ready for a good laugh or some tips on how to get a husband, tune in for that tomorrow night. Okay, so one of the talking points was from one of my book groups, and there are 125 comments on this post, but someone posted and said, what book would you recommend to start with for someone who has never read Stephen King? I have read a lot of Stephen King books, and I'll be honest, his earlier books I absolutely loved, like Carrie and Dolores Claiborne, which that movie, I love that movie. Dolores Claiborne and Night Shift, and I've read so many. I read It. I remember I had the flu when I was a senior in high school, and my boyfriend's mother brought me like a care package, and that book was in it. And that book is big, thick. Yeah. But if I had to pick one, I would pick Needful Things. So Needful Things is about this town, and this guy comes in, opens this store, and it like has your like deepest heart's desire. But there's a cost with it. Really, really good. The movie was not as good as the book. There was a movie made of it. It's hard to make a movie. It's hard to think about it. It's hard to make a good movie from a book. Yeah. But that's the book I would recommend. I absolutely loved it. Or another one. I just thought of this. Misery. That was a fantastic book. Loved that book. And the movie was good too. I've seen that movie a couple times. So yeah, those two, definitely. Okay. Oh, I am still reading the book, The Roommate by Kirsten Moglen. What a wackadoo. I'm waiting for the ball to drop. Like, I'll give you the premise. So this guy, him and his wife are splitting up. He doesn't want to split up. He winds up running into a guy he knew from high school and moving into his house. Like the guy's like, well, I have a room if you need a room. But the guy's like weird. And all this stuff starts to happen. Where the guy has to like rescue the other guy, like help him out. And I'm like, what's going to be the twist? Because there's always a twist in her books. So it's keeping my interest. It's really good. And I'm already like 200 pages in. It's like a 350 page book, I think. Yeah. And I was totally wrong. So I have read 18 books already. That's book 19 that I'm on right now. Let's go. Yeah. Killing it. Killing it with reading. Okay. So the next talking point, and this is one that I have come up upon sometimes. This was posted by Stacy, and she says, "Hello all. I'm wondering how much time you spend stitching. I struggle with guilt over how much time I spend, even though it helps my mental health. I feel like there are more productive things I could be doing, like cleaning, organizing, decluttering. Even though my house is in pretty good shape and I do have housekeepers every 2 weeks, do you all deal with this? How do you combat these feelings?" There are 91 comments on this post. So before I read, I'm going to give you my opinion. There's always time to do the other stuff. You know, there's always time to clean. And although my house is clean and I do like a clean house, it's not perfect. It's lived in. I like a house that looks lived in. If I have 10 minutes, I'd rather spend that stitching than spend it cleaning. Now, I am the kind of person, though, that I like to get done because I do house chores every morning, and I've talked to you guys about that. I like to get all of that stuff done before I sit down to stitch because, yes, then it is off of my mind. But there are some days, say fuck it, sit down and stitch. So a couple comments. People said, "I have these feelings often, but I'm learning to ignore them. Like you, my house is in pretty good shape most days. So on a day off like today, there's no way I'm going to spend my precious time cleaning." Yes. "Stitching is my one way to unwind, be mindful, and really helps me to focus and deal with anxiety and depression." Someone else said, "I'm old, so I've decided my house being spotless is not a priority." Let's go. "I love stitching and find it is cheaper to stay home and stitch than out shopping, and with the world being what it is, stitching makes me calm." Yes. And someone else says, "Stitching is being productive." Absolutely. "You are creating beautiful works of fiber art and looking after your emotional and mental health." Someone said, and that same person says, "Right now, I feel like my stitch time is constantly competing with the needs of my teenagers, work, house, husband, garden, and pets. I am getting better at deliberately setting aside time." Like I said, even if it's 10 minutes, it's something I treasure. And I don't do it every night because sometimes when I tuck Bill into bed, sometimes I do just go downstairs and read and go to sleep. But like last night, because I knew I wasn't working today, last night I stayed up. I stayed in my office until about 11. That's pretty late for me to stay in here, but when I do take that time in the evening when he has gone to bed, I don't know if I want to say I relish it, but it is probably one of the most quiet times of my entire day because no one's calling me, no one's emailing me, no one needs anything. And I can literally just sit and stitch and listen to a podcast. Yesterday, because I'm working with a physical pattern, I can use my iPad to watch something. So I was watching YouTube videos, or did I watch YouTube? Yeah. That time is precious to me. It really, really is. And like, that's why when I go to retreats, I don't like sharing a room either, because decompressing from being around 30 women is very important to my mental health. So when I come up to the room I usually try to come up there like 9, 10 o'clock. Then I'll stay up till like midnight. I mean, that time, again, I call Bill, tell him good night, but that time, it's sacred. It really is, because in the normal hustle and bustle of life, most people have a lot of things pulling at them. I don't have children and I don't have pets anymore, but the house, Bill, my mom, things like that, and my boss and work and all that. There are things that pull at me every single day. Okay. Someone said, I spend as much time as I like on my hobby. Some days all day I stitch. Stitching is productive and healthy for our state of mind. Housework will get done. Yeah. I think it's also a little different if you're single, right? Because Bill has never once to me said, this house looks atrocious. You need to clean it because those are some fighting words, let me tell you. That would never even be an utterance out of his mouth. If anything, I'm the one that says, oh, I really need to clean the bathrooms, and he doesn't even notice. Or at least he tells me he doesn't notice. Someone else said, I find stitching to be the most productive part of my day. I am making something that others will enjoy. Cleaning is not productive. It will have to be done again tomorrow. Boy, that's a good sentiment, isn't it? This person is now alone and retired, so they sometimes stitch for 12 hours. Holy hell. Wow, wow, wow. Someone says, why wouldn't you put your mental health first? I've been stitching every day for the last 3 years. Some days it's all day. No one else cares if the house is clean. If they have food, they're good. Guilt is your brain saying relaxing isn't productive. And, I think that's partly society. Society has drilled into us that we have to go, 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 when we're a human being, not a human doing. Just my opinion. Someone said, I look at my hobby time as productive because it's restorative to me. I usually stitch at night after dinner, and I know from experience that without that 1 to 2 hours of me time, I'm less chipper and productive the following day. Yes, a lot of people commented. And yeah, I love that though. So let me know down below, what is your thought on that? Because I think we all have differing opinions on that. Okay. OMG moments. Let me see something here. Oh, I have a bunch. Okay. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 OMG moments. This is posted by Angie, and it says, fresh off the frame. Started this one 3 marriages and 15 plus years ago. Oh, I didn't see that when I bookmarked it this morning. She got put down a lot, sometimes years at a time, but she's finally done. Gold Dimensions kit, or Dimensions Gold Collection, Woodland Enchantress. And I've seen this one done. It is stunning. And let me tell you, if you have never seen the Dimensions Gold kits, holy hell, are they a lot of work. This one, I mean, it's solidly stitched. Look at that. I can imagine that would have taken a long, 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 long time. Yeah. Okay. This one is Mirabilia's Rose Celebration. I've always loved this piece. I never stitched it though. So this is posted by Lisa, and she started it on May 13th of 2021 and finished it on March 16th of 2022. So just yesterday. It's gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. I always love to see finished Mirabilias, and I just really loved her dress in this one. I love the bottom of it where the pink is. My favorite Mirabilia is the Dreamer, and I never stitched it, and I don't know why. I always loved that one. I've owned the pattern a few times. I just never stitched it. Okay, this one is posted by Connie, and what drew me to this one was the frame. And this is called So She Did, as an SEW, but it's a play on that sentiment. This is the pattern's by Lori Holt. So she believed she could, so she did. And isn't that, I love teal. Teal has been one of my favorite colors here very recently. I love that. It looks so good, doesn't it? Love that frame. Okay, 3 more. This one is a long dog. I don't know what the pattern is, but it's posted by Beth, and man, she did this in a whole bunch of different colors, and it looks magnificent. I will always admire these. I mean, that is definitely a labor of love. Jesus. Right? Right? And then here's another Death by Cross Stitch. Jill is working on this one, and she's actually pretty far. This is posted by Kat, and she did it on 18 count Aida that she hand dyed herself. Gorgeous fabric. She used DMC 154, 30, 41, and 597. Oh my good God. Look at that. Wait for the light to adjust. There we go. Ah, yeah. Jill's is done. I forget what thread she's using. It's gorgeous. She's doing such a great job on it. I wonder if she belongs to this group. She should be posting her progress for sure. And the last one is in the Mirabilia Nora Corbett Full Conversions group, and I absolutely love this one. And I don't know what the original pattern looked like, but this person converted this mask into emerald greens. That first of all, that frame is gorgeous. Don't you just love that? You could do that in so many different colors. Like you could do pinks or purples or whatever. Absolutely love that. That was it. I try to like not have a ton. And I would say I spend about 15-20 minutes in the morning looking for the topics to talk about. All right, so yeah, we're going to do a true crime story today because we have not done one in a long time. So today's story is Audrey Hingston. Can't forget the calendar entry at the end. Okay, so it was a scene to melt the hardest of hearts. A frail elderly woman sat in front of the TV cameras, begging the public to help in apprehending the men who had brutally snuffed out the life of her beloved husband. Why do I think she's involved in it? One of the best Bang energy drinks out there. Cherry Blade Lemonade. I gotta order some more. 2 men came into my home and ruined my life, Audrey told the viewers. My husband Eric did not deserve this. As a frail man, any resistance he put up could easily have been overcome by these men. There cannot have been many in the nationwide audience that did not feel her pain. The murder that Audrey was referring to had occurred days earlier on August 29th, 2003, at their apartment in Plimpton, a suburb of the town of Plymouth in southwest England. According to the report taken by police, 2 men had entered the apartment that afternoon and had stabbed Eric to death, inflicting a single chest wound that had caused Eric's lungs to collapse. The men had then ransacked the place but had fled after Audrey, who had been asleep in another room, came to investigate a noise. Now, it makes me pause because I would be guessing there would be some noise with that. 2 men come in there and stab your husband and then start to ransack the place. That wouldn't be quiet, I'm imagining. So when she came in to investigate a noise, it was then that Audrey found her husband lying on the bed in the front of his pajamas soaked in blood. She immediately dialed 999, but it was already too late. Eric, who had served as a special forces operative during World War II, was dead. If there was one ray of light to come out of the murky depths of this tragedy, it was that Audrey had gotten a good look at the killers. Did she now? Okay. Within days of her TV appearance, the police had 2 suspects in custody, 2 men who fit the widow's description down to the last detail, but there was a problem. What would that be? The men had an unbreakable alibi for the night of the murder. Within hours of their arrest, the police were forced to cut them loose. And that raised a whole new set of questions. Yeah. How was it possible that Audrey had so accurately described 2 men who could not possibly have committed the crime? What were the odds? That is bizarre, right? Not very good as it turned out. Difficult though it was to fathom, it appeared that the police's star witness had lied to them, so it was time for investigators to explore a new theory. At first, The idea that Audrey might somehow be involved in the crime seemed tenuous, bizarre even. Not so bizarre if you read true crime. Spouse number one suspect. But as detectives began to explore the idea, they realized that it might not be so far-fetched after all. First, there were the falsely accused suspects. The men were in the habit of hanging out in the parking lot of a local supermarket, the same place where Audrey did her shopping. It was almost certain that she had seen them there, and quite possible that she had used those sightings as the basis for her description. But why would she have done such a thing? It could only have been to hide the identity of the real killer. And who might that killer have been? Before long, investigators had come to a rather startling conclusion. Not for me, though. They believe the killer might be Audrey herself. Yeah, she probably hired someone to kill her husband. So Eric and Audrey had met in the early 80s and had married in 1985, a second time around for both of them. Thereafter, they had moved into an apartment above a butcher shop in Underwood Road, Plimpton, where Eric worked. According to friends and family, they had had a happy union and appeared devoted to each other. But Eric had become ill in the late 90s, and by 1999, he was in such bad health that he was bedridden, with Audrey required to act as his full-time nurse. The role placed considerable strain on Audrey. Oh, I get that. First, she became depressed and then resentful, complaining to friends that Eric's condition had taken over her life. Eric was on a waiting list for prostate surgery, and she hoped that it might provide some relief to both of them. Before that could happen, however, came the afternoon of August 29, 2003, when she would be relieved of the unwanted responsibility once and for all. That was the day that Audrey dialed 999 and told the dispatcher, "We have been attacked, and my husband is on the floor. Please come quickly. I think he's dead." That assessment would prove to be an accurate one. The 7-inch kitchen knife, oh my God, I just realized, Audrey didn't hire someone to do it. She did it. And then lied. The 7-inch kitchen knife that had been driven into Eric's chest had done its deadly work. Police officers who responded to the scene found clear signs of the burglary that Audrey had reported. Drawers were pulled out, their contents strewn across the floor, something she could have very easily done herself. Several items of jewelry were missing. A window stood open, and there was a ladder resting against a wall, which the robbers had evidently used to gain access. Wondering how she would have pulled that one off. Now, however, the police had a different suspect in mind, Audrey. Before they could move on those suspicions, though, there was a new crisis. On September 11th, nearly 2 weeks after the murder, Audrey swallowed a handful of painkillers in an apparent suicide attempt. She said, "I cannot live without Eric," she had written on a note she left behind. Fortunately, the overdose was not fatal. So Audrey was eventually arrested and charged with her husband's murder on October 7th, 2003. Under interrogation, she admitted almost immediately that the burglary story had been a lie. She had told it, she said, to cover up the fact that Eric had committed suicide. By stabbing himself in the chest? I don't think so. She told it that, however, was even more unbelievable than her original version of events. There can't be too many individuals who have killed themselves by driving a knife into their own chest. Yeah. Still, Audrey was adamant that this was what had happened. She claimed that she had found her husband dead with a knife protruding from his chest. She would continue to cling to this story until her son, a former police officer, came to visit her in prison, and to him she told the truth. She said, "Okay, I killed him. I'd had enough. I couldn't take any more of his illness and having to care for him." She then went on to describe how she had planned the murder for days, how she had plunged the kitchen knife into her husband's chest while he slept. Jesus! How she had ransacked the apartment and hidden some of her jewelry, how she had placed the ladder outside the window. She then waited nearly 2 hours before calling emergency services. And they would have known that because you can tell time of death. 2 hours? Her description of the suspects had come about in exactly the way the police had suspected. She had seen the men hanging around the supermarket and had thought they looked the type. It did not seem to concern her that her false testimony might have sent 2 innocent men to prison for a very long time. Now she was looking at hard time herself. So Audrey's trial got underway at the Plymouth Crown Court in March of 2004. She entered a plea of not guilty to murder, but guilty of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. It was a pleading that the judge, Mrs. Justice Hallett, was prepared to accept. The judge says, "It is a sad day when a woman of your age and background ends up in the jail having confessed to killing her husband. Having covered your tracks in a calculated and convincing way, you then sustained your account for some considerable time in considerable detail. In the process, you caused enormous distress to a lot of people and wasted a lot of police time." Oh yeah, because she stuck to her story for months. That wasted police time would later be calculated at nearly 500 man-hours, costing the taxpayers around 160,000 euros. Whew. But the real cost was to Eric's family. They had lost a beloved father and grandfather, and the sentence passed by the judge would do little to save their wounds. For the brutal slaying of her ailing husband, Audrey was sentenced to just 2 years in prison. 2 years? That's it? Worse still, she was released after serving less than half of that time. So she was out in under a year. Wow. I wonder why such a short sentence. That's cuckoo. Right? Yeah. That's crazy. Okay, I'd never heard of that story. Crazy. Yeah. All right. Are we ready? That was a good tear. Okay. Ooh, I like today's. To observe life is one thing. To participate in it is another thing entirely. Absolutely. I think there are moments to observe and moments to participate. What those are, though, is up to you. So, I hope you guys all have a great St. Patrick's Day. If you do choose to go out to a bar, please be safe and responsible. Drink that green beer, but take an Uber if you drink too much, right? As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.